All right. 131. The Milesians of Irish legend are said to have originated in Greece early in the second millennium BC and to have taken many generations reach Ireland. And to have taken many generations to reach Ireland after wandering about the Mediterranean. The Milesians of Greek legend claim descent from Miletus, a son of Apollo, who immigrated from Crete to Caria in very early times and built the city of Miletus. There was another city of the same name in Crete. The Irish Milesians similarly claim to have visited Crete and to have gone thence to Syria and thence by way of Carina in Asia Minor to Gatulia in North Africa, Balduno or Ballio, a port near Cadiz, and Brigdun or Brigantium, now Compostela, in northwest Spain. Among their ancestors were Gadel, perhaps a deity of the river Gadlum, on the southern coast of the Black Sea near Trebizond, Nilus or Nilos of Argos, Cecrops of Athens, and Scota, daughter of the king of Egypt. If this account has any sense, it refers to the westward migration from the Aegean to Spain in the late 13th century BC, when, as we have seen, a wave of Indo-Europeans from the north, among them the Dorian Greeks, was slowly displacing the Mycenaean peoples of the sea from Greece, the Aegean Islands, and Asia Minor. Nelus, if this is the Nilus or Neolus of the Irish legend, was a minion, an Aeolian Greek who reigned over Pylos, a Peloponnese kingdom that traded extensively with the western Mediterranean. The Achaeans subdued him in a battle from which only his son Nestor, a garrulous old man at the time of the Trojan War, escaped. Neleus was reckoned as a son of the goddess Tyro, and she was mother also to Azon, the minion, who was rejuvenated in the cauldron, and Amathion again. Taro was probably the goddess of the Tyrrhenians, who were expelled from Asia Minor a century or two later and sailed to Italy. These Tyrrhenians, usually known as Etruscans, dated their national existence from 967 BC. Cecrops appears in Greek legend as the first Greek king of Attica and the reputed originator of barley cake offerings to Zeus. Scota, who has been confused in Irish legend with the ancestor of the Cottians, is apparently Scota, the Dark One, a well-known Greek title of the sea goddess of Cyprus. The Milesians would naturally have brought the call of the sea goddess and of her son Hercules with them to Ireland, and would have found the necessary stone altars already in position. In the Peloponnese, the Olympic Games were the occasion of this agricultural Hercules' death and of the election of his successor. The legend is that they were founded in celebration of Zeus's emasculation of Cronus, since the tomb of the early Archean oak king Pelops was at Olympia. This means that the oak cult was there superimposed on the Puglisian barley cult. The most ancient event in the games was a race between 50 young priestesses of the goddess Hera for the privilege of becoming the new chief priestess. Hercules was cut into pieces and eucharistically eaten as before, until perhaps the later Achaeans put an end to this practice, and for centuries after retained some of his oak tree characteristics. He was known as the Green Zeus. The sacrifice of the agricultural Hercules, or the victim offered in his stead, continued to take place within a stone circle dedicated to the barley mother. At Hermion, near Corinth, the stone circle was in ritual use until Christian times. Hercules of Canopus, or celestial Hercules, is a fusion of the first two types of Hercules with Asclepius, well, that's the same word, isn't it? Asclepius Asclepius, or Asclepius, the god of healing, himself a fusion of the barley god with the fire god. Asclepius is described by mythographers as a son of Apollo, partly because Apollo in classical times was identified with the sun god Helios, partly because the priesthood of the Asclepian cult, which was derived from that of Thoth, the Egyptian god of healing and inventor of letters, had been driven from Phoenicia about the year 1400 BC, and taken refuge in the islands of Kos, Thasos, and Delos, where Apollo was by then the ruling deity. When in the 5th century BC, Herodotus tried to exact information about Canopic Hercules from the Egyptian priests, they referred him to Phoenicia as the land of his origin. We know that the Phoenician Hercules Melkarth, king of the city, died yearly, and that the quail was his bird of resurrection, which means that when the migrant quail arrives in Phoenicia early in March from the south, the oak begins to leaf, and the new king celebrates his royal marriage. Melkarth was revived when Esmon, he whom we invoke, the local Asclepius, held a quail to his nose. The quail is notorious for its pungency and lechery, but at Canopus in the Nile Delta, the cults of Melkarth and Esmon, or Hercules and Asclepius, appear to have been fused by Egyptian philosophers. Hercules was worshipped both as the healer and as the healed. Apollo himself reputedly been born in Ortygia, Quail Island, the islet off Delos. So, Canopic Hercules is Apollo too. In a sense, is Apollo Asclepius, alias Cronus, Saturn, or Braun, Thoth, Hermes, whom the Greeks identified with Thoth, Dionysius, who in the early legends is an alias of Hermes, and Melkarth, to whom King Solomon, as son-in-law to King Hiram, was priest, and who immolated himself on a pier like Hercules of Oeta. Hercules, Melkarth, was also worshipped at Corinth under the name of Melicertes, the son of the Pelasgian white goddess Ino of Pelion. Damn, I did not know this. Hercules becomes more glorious still as celestial Hercules. The mythographers record that he borrowed the golden cup of the sun shaped like a water lily or lotus for the homeward journey from one of his labors. This was the cup in which the sun, after sinking in the west nightly, floated around again to the east along the world-girdling ocean stream. The lotus, which grows as the Nile rises, typified fertility and so attached itself to the Egyptian sun cult. Hercules in classical Greece became, in fact, another name for the sun. Celestial Hercules was worshipped both as the undying sun and as the continually dying and continually renewed spirit of the year, that is, both as a god and as a demigod. This is the type of Hercules whom the Druids worshipped as Ogma Sunface, the lion-skinned inventor of letters, god of eloquence, god of healing, god of fertility, god of prophecy, and whom the Greeks worshipped as assigner of titles, as ruler of the zodiac, as president of festivals, as founder of cities, as healer of the sick, as patron of archers and athletes. Hercules is represented in Greek art as a bull-necked champion and may, for all practical purposes, be identified with the demigod Dionysius of Delphi, whose totem was a white bull. Plutarch of Delphi, a priest of Apollo, in his essay on Isis and Osiris, compares the rites of Osiris with those of Dionysius. He writes, the affair about the Titans and the night of accomplishment corresponds with what are called tearings to pieces, resurrections, and regenerations in the rites of Osiris. The same applies to burial rites. There are burial chests of Osiris in many Egyptian cities. Similarly, we claim at Delphi that the remains of Dionysus are buried near the place of the oracle, and our consecrated priests perform a secret sacrifice in Apollo's sanctuary at the time of the awakening of the divine child by the Thyiads. Thus, Hercules is seen to be also another name for Osiris, whose yearly death is still celebrated in Egypt even after 13 centuries of Mohammedanism. Rubber is now used for the traditional fertility symbol. Prodigiously inflated, it still excites the same cries of laughter and grief as in the days of Joseph the patriarch and Joseph the carpenter. Plutarch carefully distinguishes Apollo, Hercules as god, from Dionysius, Hercules as demigod. This Apollo never dies, never changes his shape. He is eternally young, strong, and beautiful. Dionysius perpetually changes, like Proteus, the Pelasgian god, or Periclymenus, the Menenian, son of Nelus, or the ancient Irish Uth Mac Amomian, whore son of terror, into an infinity of shapes. So Pentheus, in the Bacchae of Euripides, charges him to appear as a wild bull, as a many-headed snake, or as a fire-breathing lion. Whichever he pleases, almost exactly in the words of the Welsh bard Cyndil, a contemporary of Gruffydd ap Cynian's. Holy shit. Yin rith lu rac lu gargadine yith rith derek rac dragon pridin. Thus in Britain, Amathon was Hercules as Dionysius, his father Belly was Hercules as Apollo. I think I will stop there.